I guess we could talk about what were you talking about? Biden? What did Biden say?
Joe Biden. So apparently, there was some sort of virtual conference where he was talking to people from um, the Black and Hispanic press. And so basically, to make a long story short, he said, and this is a quote from ABC News' website, he said, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. You go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration in certain places than you do when you're in Arizona. So it's a very diverse community.
Oh, oh, that's the first time I'm hearing this quote. But is he wrong?
Yes, I think so. I think, like, come on, Joe.
I
Like,
don't know.
I wonder what Obama had to say about that.
I don't know if he's too wrong about that though.
So you think that most black people have similar attitudes about the same subjects,
Yeah,
the same things?
yeah.
You think that?
I think that's why we use cancel culture. How do everybody feel about Terry Crews right now?
But but
Exactly.
I
Like,
but no no no.
uh,
I mean,
we normally are on the same accord. I'll say that. Then the Spanish says like when you talk about Spanish, there's Mexicans, there's Dominicans, there's Puerto Ricans, there's Colombians. They don't all feel the same. They
That's
don't.
why
Some of
that's
them
why
don't
I
like
was
each other.
called that's why I was called the tribalistic racist, remember? Because
yeah,
that's what they that's what they think. Anyway, I mean,
but if we all have the same views about the same stuff, why is it that we can't come together as a collective and get stuff moved and done? That's
We
because we
don't.
don't.
Yeah, but that's because I think we don't move on faith and trust and all that. But as far as like views and things like that, we all do move on the same. I think wavelength because if we didn't, um, it's almost like you get ostracized for it. Somebody who don't think the same way in the black community, they like you bugging. It is like that.
I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I just don't. Overall, I don't agree because it's like you're
I mean,
basically saying that.
there's pockets, but at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of black people do think feel the same way about certain situations. They do.
I
and that's
mean,
just
I guess.
and that's his perception of of it, or that could be just his familiar, him being familiar about being around, so that's what he sees. Like, I don't necessarily think that, like, I wasn't offended that he said that. Were you guys offended that he said that? Because
No,
I felt like that was the thing.
I
that's
was a
That
little
funny.
bit.
I
was
think that,
offended.
I
but
was,
that
yeah, a
goes
little
back
bit,
to
yeah.
what we were talking about the stereotypes and things like that. As far as how we can't tell who to be offended about what they say, because me, I didn't take that any type of way. I mean, the way people was in the uproar about it, I thought he said something crazy. But
Me
when you
too.
just read that off, I really didn't see any problem with it.
I do. And even on, even on a smaller scale, when it comes to us doing this podcast, you guys know that you two usually are in agreement to have a similar thought process on most things, whereas I kind of like deviate from that. I think on a grander scale, that's kind of like we're not a monolith. Everybody don't think the same.
I
So
mean,
to just
on
like put
We
us in a
don't.
sentences,
box and say like African Americans, they are not diverse in their attitudes towards whatever is like stereotyping. And I don't really dig that. Like,
I think the African Americans he probably talked to, we all he have the same agenda for him, and I feel like he knows what he needs to do to appease the black vote, and that's what he's saying. And I feel like for the Latin community, there's probably more than just A, B, C. I complete these, and they'll be happy with me. There's too many different combinations that go together for them to probably solve their issues. But our issues, I feel like if 10 black people wrote down the issues of the black person and that they wanted to change in America, and you send them, I bet you a lot of those answers will be the same.
Or even if you look at an issue like Colin Kaepernick kneeling,
Hmm.
all black people wasn't in agreement with Colin Kaepernick kneeling. All people wasn't in agreement with
But
boycotting
is
the
it
NFL.
all or is the majority? Because the
Majority.
majority
That's
people
what I'm saying. There's
were like
pockets.
the
There's pockets.
majority,
But the majority, I think, do think the same. There's
because the
pockets that don't.
majority of the people get why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe they got the reason why, but maybe they didn't agree with it. Does that
And
make
then,
sense?
and then what happens to the person whenever they don't agree with the popular black opinion? They get shunned every time.
Kanye
I
West.
Kanye, that dude Jonathan Isaac, he wasn't kneeling for the anthem, and he wasn't wearing the Black Lives Matter T-shirt. They killed him.
I don't know. I definitely disagree with what he said as far as black people having diverse attitudes about different things. I do.
No, I think it. Well, I think with you might be taking it literal, like all, but I'm looking at how Kenya said it. I think it's majority versus minority. Like the popular opinion with the black people, I think we do
And that's
have the same
in which you're
agenda.
and, and, and and you will have an argument every time because people will look at you like you're being difficult. Like, why
Mhm.
can't you just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get
Mhm.
on board or whatever. So I get
Mhm.
that because I'm not on board with a lot of shit either. But you know what I'm saying? The fight is harder for us. Like, you know what I'm saying? To try to get our point across because we do see shit different. We do have diverse, you know what I'm saying, opinions and thought processes on things. So
And I know this is
um,
like on the
I didn't
like
take offense to what he said though. I just
But
didn't.
also, I think there's and I think this is something that I think most people know is that when it comes to the Latino community, there are some Latinos, like you said, you could be Cuban, you could be Mexican, or whatever. But some Latinos do consider themselves white. So
yeah,
that plays a major factor in the thought processes
and some
that they
consider themselves
have.
black.
So right.
So it's
There's
like
black, brown, Afro Latinos, and people who just don't identify with being brown or black and consider themselves white.
I
or they
think
might
that
just
if
not.
Joe Biden had a black running mate, she could just simply tell him that it doesn't matter what race, what color you are, there is diversity everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody
Hmm.
needs to reiterate that to him. You know what I mean? So,
I think
and even though he's been in politics this long, he it's a still learning process, for him.
So
He's older, he's
so
in
but real.
age.
But I look at it like this though too. In other words, if he didn't go with the popular black opinion, would he win the black vote? No, he wouldn't. So if Biden was going around saying people shouldn't kneel and they're disrespecting the military, and if he was going with the all lives matter, we got to make sure Black Lives Matter ain't getting bigger than what it's supposed to be. If he was running around with that, he wouldn't get the black vote. That's what I'm saying. So if he's following suit and going with the popular black opinion, he's going to get the black vote. So therefore, there ain't too much diversity in the black opinion. That's how I look at it.
I honestly think that there is, and like even for instance with the conversation we had about Nick Cannon, like we don't agree on the specifics of what Nick Cannon said, but at the end of the day, we do agree that he should stand on what he believes and not back down. So I think that although I may not agree with you guys on certain things, as a collective, I do believe in the mission to push, Black people forward and,
He need
uh,
help with that. He
close
needs
the
help with
wealth
that. That's
gap.
why he He needs
Yeah,
a black running mate.
and that's the thing. What Nick Cannon said might not have been right, or I don't do that much studying on that type of those issues, so I can't say whether he's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, like his basic common views of trying to uplift the black community is the same views we have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I just, as
I
far
think
as,
we
I
all
think
we,
the more offensive thing may have been the stereotype and the putting us in a box.
it
Like,
is
why?
it
What are you
is
It
doing,
is.
Joe?
it is
Like,
because
Joe, we're in the home stretch. What are you
Mm-hmm,
talking about
mm-hmm.
right
and
now? Like,
then to and
come
then
on.
the thing is too
Somebody
when
just
you are
needed to slap him in the back of the head, like, "Hey, you know."
to me, the thing that could be offensive is the stereotype and like what you were saying, what we said about Nick Cannon. You don't push down one race to uplift another, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. It seemed
Mhm,
like he was trying to uplift the Spanish community or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but he put down the black community by doing
In the
so.
process, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. I can see how that could touch people the wrong way.
mhm.
And like
The
now,
thing I don't like about it is you know what I'm saying, that out of the whole conversation that was had during that interview or whatever, you know what I'm saying, they stuck to that little piece, and Trump's campaign took that little piece and took it and ran with that shit, like, you know what I'm saying,
hmm
like that shit is crazy.
like, see, he don't like black people for real.
Yeah, like yes, yes, yes. So
I
It's a
mean,
it's a dog fight out there. Hey,
it
they both
is,
are.
it's do or die for us. It's at this point, it's the lesser of the two evils. Like, you know what
hmm
I'm saying? They both bad, but the one is worse than the bad one. So we got to get the worst one out.
Ain't
We
that
have
what we were
to.
saying
Yes.
last election with Hillary and Trump? And Trump ended up fucking winning.
but see, I think the thing is that people are not paying attention to this. Like, we let all this time go without, as a collective, trying to figure out what candidate we want, because we do have the power to shift the election to get the person that we want elected. But we'll let all this time go past, not pay
Yes.
attention to
Yes.
nobody, and then all of a sudden
Yes.
we're stuck with the options that we're given.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
okay, here are
Yes.
our options.
And
Like,
then now you got all these people out here that's like, oh, Biden this, Biden that. Like, where were you months ago? Like,
But I ain't gonna lie though. The thing is, it's like it's almost like betting. You gonna go with the safe bet because of the experience, and then the people that we think that had the potential, 2020 ends up being that they were actually right. But are you gonna take that risk with them? It's just weird. You know what I mean? You gonna go
mhm,
with the
no, when
safe
I tell
bet.
y'all, since we've been talking about this last year, we were complaining about the number of Democratic candidates that were out there. We had a plethora of candidates
We
to
could have
choose
chose
from.
anybody.
And
anybody.
now that we're down to the wire,
It's
here
like this.
we
Like
are.
Here we are.
But if
pizza
people
or
would have
tacos. That's all we got to choose
properly
from.
paid attention to each and every one of those people's candidates, I mean, platforms, then maybe we wouldn't be here.
And you guys know what else I think? I think that us as Black people and in the Black community, I feel like we need continuous education about the voting process.
hmm
Continuous education about the voting process, because I see a lot of people also saying, okay, I don't like neither one of them. I ain't going to vote for neither one of them. Like that's a good thing too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that we just need continuous education about the voting process and how important our vote is on
But
all
Oh,
things.
and honestly, I think hindsight is 2020, because at the end of the day, I kind of had the thought that even on our little old podcast, maybe we should have took time to do a segment on each candidate and at least talk about their platform and what they were about, um, when if they were to become president.
Mhm.
So I kind of like
another thing
didn't do
is
that, and
too.
I wish we had.
I feel like the numbers are just like discouraging because the person I wanted to vote for, I didn't vote for them just because I knew they were so far behind and they wasn't gonna win. Like, you know what I mean?
Who, Bernie?
No, Yang.
Yeah, but by the time it got to ours,
He was out, right?
he was out. So you only
But I'm
had
just saying, I already had my mind made up that I wasn't gonna vote for him though, too. You know what I mean? Because he
hmm
wasn't, the numbers wasn't good.
yeah, because I think we both liked Yang. Even though I was kind of like telling y'all to kind of like look at Tom Steyer too, because Tom Steyer was adamant on this is what we need to do specifically for the black community,
Mhm.
and nobody paid him any attention.
At all. Not and he at all.
Because the media didn't either.
And they,
Exactly. And that's the power of social media and the media period. Like, you know what I'm saying? They push out what they want us to see. They push out what they want us to hear. They put the clips out that they want us to see. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has to do their own research. When
And
it comes to our livelihood and the people that controls it, we need to be more educated and be more aware.
well,
We do.
I think if you can change the time frames of how things happen, the climate, if the climate was how it is now, back when those elections were going on, I think it would be a whole different mind state. But due to the fact that all of this was pre-COVID, the mind state of the country was, well, the climate of the country was kind of different.
hmm
We wasn't like priority. You didn't see them fighting for black people, social justice, all that. But after the
Yeah,
George
well,
Floyd
before
thing,
George Floyd, which is sad.
yeah,
Before George Floyd, no one cared. After
hmm
George Floyd, everybody
look, and your
cares
boy
now.
Sire, boys would have like, pay attention to Sire. Oh, that's how we love him.
But I
Hmm.
think because it was maybe not necessarily a popular name that people knew about, it was easy to push him to the side or to say that he's somebody who, well, even if he is a candidate, he can't beat Trump. Like, it takes the support of the people to elevate them to that level.
Right,
So, I mean, if we're not like, I don't, and that's why I don't understand the Angela Rise and the Charlemagne's, where you talk about a black agenda and you're up here mad and saying Joe Biden needs a detailed black agenda. I mean, sure he does, but like at this point, he's the only choice that we have. When somebody put out a detailed black agenda for you, you didn't listen to them. You ignored them.
right.
You
Well,
didn't
they got
push
the platform.
forward to tell people to support this person. None of that. So now I don't
Hmm.
want to hear nothing that neither one of y'all got to say
Because they
because it's
didn't
Right,
too
use their
late in the
platform.
game and y'all did have those options, but you
right.
just didn't take
They
them
didn't use their
seriously.
platform, yeah. But you live and you learn. You know, they get 4 years.
Yes.
They get 4 years to go back to the drawing board and look at how they didn't use their platforms responsibly.
Also, I think now is the time. Okay, so we're here now. We have the choice between Trump or Biden. So now is the time for us to look forward to 2024. Okay, so we need to be gearing up to see who we want as our president and start getting momentum behind whoever that person is
Right.
so that we can get them in a
See who's
position to
out
win that
there. See who the
election.
candidate. Hmm. Yes. It's going to be an ongoing process for us because we're so far behind in our power of voting that that's why I said like the education, like, you know what I'm saying, just because we got a president in now, we don't stop, we don't rest, we got to continue to look forward to the next coming election because it's going to happen and it's going to be some more bullshit, you
Mark my
know.
words, 2024 is going to be the year of the ethnic woman. It's going to be either a Latino woman or a black woman to be our president.
Can't wait.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the 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 country's tired of that good old boys league. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's time to get some different
And Joe Biden is
thinkers.
going to set the tone with the first African American vice president woman. He's going to set the tone
Well, they
with
were
that.
Because
saying he.
I think really like as far as he's concerned, this election probably is riding on whoever his VP pick is.
It
They,
is.
they were saying he liked the one lady though too. I guess she's white. The one the Michigan governor or something like that. The
I
one
don't know.
over
I just
there.
heard I heard Elizabeth Warren. There's another woman I can't remember her
Yeah,
name.
there's
Yeah.
like four. Yeah, there's like three or four other. other races, but I feel like the best thing for him is to do that. That's going to push him. That's going to push him to where he needs to be, and that's going. I feel like for me personally, I feel like that's going to make me feel better, and that's going to give me hope, and that's going to keep my momentum going for the 2024 election. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you said, Jessica, we're going to get behind. We're going to see who's out there that's best for us, and get behind them and start. You know what I'm saying? Supporting them and promoting them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. If he does that, that will be a good thing. Come on, Batten. First African American vice president. Set the tone.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
It's now knowledge on that beat.